The enemy types in Resident Evil 4 are iconic to say the least. From the villagers in the beginning all the way up to Lord Sadler himself, from the moment I grabbed my PlayStation 2 controller, I knew I would be in for a scary ride, and in today's video, I'm gonna list the enemies I'm most excited to see in the Resident Evil 4 remake. This list is just my opinion and a way to bring up discussion. I of course want you to list what enemies you're excited to see in the game as well. Let us begin! Number 5. The first enemy, or E's, I'm excited to see are the Garadors as a whole. The first section of the game is the best section in my opinion. It is one of the best crafted areas I've played in gaming history. The village attack and the cabin in particular are so tense. The action isn't overdone, but gives us just enough more oomph to fight back. It's pure survival horror redone in third person. I didn't play the earlier games until much later after I played Resident Evil 4, but I can totally see how next gen and revolutionary Resident Evil 4 was at the time. We were up against so much more enemies at once, and yes, you'd think the new controls would make it easier. No, it doesn't at all. Sure, you're quicker and you don't have to worry about the angles changing while you're shooting, but in these sections in particular, you were infested with Garadors, and seeing the new footage, the remake throws even more enemies at once. I'm so scared to go through the cabin sequence again, and it's all due to the genius gameplay sequences they designed and the terrifying enemies they threw at you. Next up, I'm really excited to see the Chainsaw Sisters. Don't get me wrong, I love Dr. Salvador, but the Chainsaw Sisters were 10 times scarier than him. One example in particular is the fact there are 2 of them, and they're fast. They do not mess around whatsoever, and once they get close enough, they will kill you. We had a look at Dr. Salvador in the remake, and I'm in love with the updated look. They stayed very close to the original, but added more revealing details in his face in particular. The 2 eyes spread out like this is such a simple thing to add, and it was exactly what this character needed to be even scarier. Which makes me wonder, what the heck are they going to do with the sisters? Next up, I'm really excited to see the Garadors. These bitches on a design standpoint are so scary. People always say length doesn't matter, but Wolverine is going to have a run for his money against these guys. They have no issue killing you, other than the fact that they're blind, but as soon as they hear you, it's game over. They will be after you as fast as Leon was running from the boulder in the village. Trying to sneak my way out of the dungeon with one of these guys on my track kept my ass puckered the whole time. Kirby fun fact here, this sequence was the first ever gameplay I watched of Resident Evil 4. I was going up to my uncle's room to annoy him no doubt, and I saw the Wolverine 2.0s myself. I was so intrigued by this sequence, I went straight home to convince my mom to get it for me, and I think that's a good impression if you ask me. One of them is hard enough to fight, but eventually you fight 2 of them and it makes it even harder. The next enemy on the list are the Regenerators. I remember my little brother Sam watching me in my first playthrough of Resident Evil 4, and as soon as the Regenerator was revealed, he was terrified. I'm almost positive my mom made me turn the game off until he fell asleep. Ugh, that little bastard, I couldn't blame him though. I was scared as well. I was the one playing, so I had to worry about defeating these guys as well as hold on to the little amount of ammo I had because I sucked at the game. I can't tell you how many times I had to fight with only a knife. Not only because I sucked throughout the whole game, but I also didn't know how to kill the freaking things. I didn't really read the files back then. I didn't realize using the special scope helped look for weak points of them. Silly me, luckily I've learned since then. And before we go to the main enemy I'm excited for, I'm gonna go over a couple honorable mentions, of course. One I'd like to bring up are the Vertigos, or the Vertigos, whatever the hell you call them. Vertigos, I believe. They were so close to being on my list, but didn't quite make the cut. Their design alone just making enough to add them to the list. Them in their cloak and out. The first appearance of them in their cloaks guarding Salazar made it enough to make me think, Jesus Christ, I hope I don't have to fight these things. God quickly said, too late bub, you're in for it now, and threw one of them at me. They were mind-numbingly scary, and I can't wait to fight them in the remake. Next up as an honorable mention, I have the Plagueis as a whole. The Lost Plagueis was such an interesting change to the series. You're originally focused on viruses and then you go to parasites, and seeing these fuckers shoot out of the villain's head as soon as you pop their head is absolutely nightmare-inducing. Eventually the bastards would just crawl out of the bodies entirely when you're in the castle section. It's a little harder to defeat them when you're in such tight corners. Once I saw the Game Informer footage and saw the new Plagueis, it was exactly what I needed to realize I was going to need to keep a fresh pair of undies on hand for a quick change. They are so grotesque looking in this remake and it gives me chills. I'm so pumped to pop those bastards like a good sized zit with the flash grenades. And here we are for the main villain I'm excited to see, and that is the Big Cheese himself, Father Batoris Mendez. I keep saying that I remember this and I remember that, but that's just how mind-blowing this game was to me when I played it. I never played anything like this at the time, but as soon as I went into the barn to fight him, I was not expecting his body to just split apart to show off his human centipede of a spine. It was awful. And just when I thought he was done for, his top half said, "Hey bub, I'm not finished with you just yet." How ironic that he'd be even quicker without his legs. I was screaming for my freaking life trying to get out of reach of him. That is, and probably always will be, one of my all-time favorite Resident Evil boss fights. None of the bosses later in the game even compared to the Big Cheese. Like I said before, this is a matter of opinion, and a fun way to bring up discussion for you guys. I want to know who you all are excited to see in the game. Even if it's the little bastard Salazar, it's okay, I forgive you. Just kidding. To be honest with you, I wasn't really a big fan of Salazar in the original Resident Evil 4. Yes, he's a little bit weird, but it wasn't really anything special to me. Even Sadler, Sadler was cool, he's iconic, but when it came to boss fights, it was the Big Cheese. I can't help it. If you haven't already, leaving a like and subscribing to the channel is always appreciated, and if you want to be even cooler, like as cool as the big old cheese whiz himself, consider ringing the bell so you're notified for all the videos I release in the future, and until next time, take it easy, bubs.